Welcome to the Conscious Leadership Podcast. In this podcast, we discuss the how-to of creating conscious leadership for business, life, and the world. With ordinary people doing extraordinary things and being truly in control of their own health, wealth, and happiness. Knowledge plus action with a plan creates magical results. Introducing your host, Julie Hogbin, author, international speaker, mentor, disruptor, and creator of conscious leadership, and property investor living in the UK. Julie Hogbin here from the Conscious Leadership Podcast, recording another episode. Doing one a day for 30 days. And today, because of something that's happened this morning, I thought I would do a live recording on assertive, aggressive, passive, and passive-aggressive behaviours. So I think we probably, I'm not going to say that. Some of us will know there are different sets of behaviours that we can display and that we need to deal with in life. And there are 4 that have basically been identified. So that's aggressive, assertive, passive, and the final one, passive-aggressive. I've dealt with them all over the years. I've taught leaders, business managers, individuals how to deal with them. And one of them is by far harder to deal with than the other 3 combined. It's just incredibly difficult to deal with because of how manipulative the behaviour is. So I'm just going to do you a quick description of what the behaviours are, and then you can tell me what you're dealing with and maybe even what behaviours you display. So if you're looking at a passive set of behaviours, you are dealing with somebody who will probably acquiesce to everything you request. They probably don't speak their mind. They probably don't express their opinions. They don't necessarily have to be quiet, but they quite often are quiet. These are massive generalisations, everybody, but they are quite often quiet. They will probably not give you feedback, and when you give them feedback, they'll probably accept it without saying anything. Now, that doesn't mean that they are a passive individual. It means they're more than likely taking things internally, and on occasions, these are the people that will leave a relationship, leave an organisation, if they've got the confidence, because quite often they're not particularly confident individuals as well. And you'll never know why, because they'll never tell you why. Really, really, really brief description. Now, an aggressive person, you'll know. They're out there, they're telling you exactly what they think. They are probably shouting, probably stamping, probably very vocal in their tone of voice, probably quite clipped, quite sharp. Sometimes resort to violence or the threat of violence, because they've learnt by doing that, people will back off. They won't give them the feedback. They won't challenge them, because people are afraid, and that's a perception of fear, but they are afraid of what might come at them. Now, to be honest, aggressive people are actually quite easy to deal with. I say quite easy, it's a minimiser word. I'm conscious of my language. Dependent on your level of understanding, dependent on your level of confidence, aggressive people are easy to deal with, because you know what's going on for them. They are telling you what's going on for them. So using the right language, using the right tone of voice, you can bring them down to a level where you can have a conversation with them. Whereas passive individuals, you've got to draw them out to tell you what's wrong. And in reality, that needs a more thought through, educated way of doing that, because you have to give them time, you have to give them space, you have to make them feel safe to share with you what's going on for them. Whereas aggressive, they're just going to tell you. Now, an assertive set of behaviours is a wonder. It's an absolute wonder. They will tell you how they feel, they will tell you what they're thinking, they will tell you what's going on with them, they will give you feedback, they will request feedback. When you tell them there's something wrong, they don't justify it. In general, they'll go, oh, okay, their thought process is, what can I do with this? How can I make this better? What do I need to do to be different? You will be able to have a conversation with them openly, honestly, and they will accept what's happening. They will possibly ask you questions about what can be done, how can we change this? Now, assertiveness sits on a different level. So if you looked at a spectrum, you've got passive at one end, you've got aggressive at the other, and somewhere in between this, you've got passive-aggressive. And assertiveness sits over. It's not the same set of behaviours. It's very different, very different. It's not on a spectrum. It's one on its own. Now, passive-aggressive, and this is what I've been dealing with this morning, and I'm pulling my hair out with it in some respects. A passive-aggressive individual will make an agreement with you and then change their mind. A passive-aggressive individual will, from a previous conversation, when you say to them, well, how do you want me to deal with this? What question do you want me to ask? How can I have this conversation with you in the future? Will give you an answer, and then when you use it the following day, will flip. And when you remind them that that's what they told you to do yesterday, they'll deny it. Passive-aggressive behaviour is not I'm angry, you can probably tell, is not personally responsible. It does not move things forward. It does not allow people to grow. It's a deflection technique that will get you off their back. It's a deflection technique that when you try to have being the operative word, because more often than not, it fails. When you try to have a conversation that will move things forward, it will build relationships, it will change the results, it will get things done. Really, 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 I cannot express how really difficult it is to deal with. These are the people that will throw away a comment, and when you ask them to repeat it because you didn't hear it, they'll mumble even lower. As they're mumbling, they will walk away from you, so you never really hear what they say. Now, if you're dealing with this, if you have somebody like this in your life, if you have somebody like this in your business, if you have somebody like this as an employee, you have to, without any question of any doubt, pull them up on what they're saying. You have to walk towards the scenario, the situation, and have the conversation, however difficult that may be. If you let it rumble, if you let them get away with their behaviour, if you let them continue to moan, groan, change the goalposts, things will get worse. Now, unfortunately, for all of us, with all of our behaviours, whichever one that is that we are displaying, our age plays a massive part in that. So if as an individual you have been passive since year dot, so somewhere in your early childhood you were taught that passive works, you were taught by expressing your views, you got, slapped physically or metaphorically, the longer you've been doing that, the harder it will be for you to change. The longer you have been being aggressive, so those inherently learnt behaviours that have taught you that by being aggressive people back off, you don't have to have the conversation, you get your own way. Short term, that will work for you. Long term, it won't. Assertive behaviours are a set of skills, are a set of language, are a set of behaviours that everybody can learn. I was never the most confident individual as a child. I used to hide behind my mum's skirts. I flipped from that to being quite aggressive because I didn't know there was anywhere in between. So I went from one end of the spectrum to the other. And for those of you that have been told you are aggressive in your behaviours, you are aggressive in your tone, you're aggressive in how you deal with things, it's probably because you've flipped from being passive to aggressive. You've not learned how to be assertive. Now, my tendency, for those of you that know me, I don't suffer fools gladly. I am very clear in my communication. I am very upfront with my communication. My belief is that that is assertive. I maintain a tone. I deal with things, I change my behaviour to get the best out of people. Now, for people who are manipulative, aggressive, or for people who are passive, quite often their reaction to that is you're being aggressive. It's because they don't understand what assertiveness is. I work with a lot of leaders and a lot of managers in business, and I ask them to describe what assertive behaviour is. I ask them to describe what confident behaviour is. Most, massive generalisation once again, but most people cannot do it. They do not know what assertive, confident behaviour looks like. They don't know what it sounds like. They can't describe it. Now, If you're dealing with a passive aggressive individual who may be saying, they'll be saying something, you'll respond to them, you'll ask them a question. Sometimes their response is, well, I was only joking, I didn't mean it, oh, you took it the wrong way. It's really hard to deal with. It will be your most challenging challenge. And you have to challenge it. I'm dealing with it now. I'm dealing with a passive aggressive who, when you ask them a question, justifies it. When you express to them that the justification isn't helpful, the fact that they've forgotten to do something is what you're talking to them about, they will then blame somebody else. They will bring in another story that allows them to justify why something's not been done. It's difficult. It's hard to deal with, and you have to. And it's very frustrating. And what a passive-aggressive person might also do is give you an ultimatum. So I've had one this morning that is, you talk to me nice or you don't talk to me at all. Okay. So what is talking to you nice? What does it mean? Phone went down. Because there's no response to the question, which will then allow me to talk to them in a way they want to be spoken to. This has been going on for a few weeks now. So now I've been given an ultimatum. I have to make the decision on what that ultimatum means, because I need to talk to this person. It's a business relationship that I am in. I cannot allow that ultimatum to affect the results for the business. Now, do I want to be in a business relationship with somebody who gives me that ultimatum? The honest answer is no, I don't. So I now have to think about, what does that mean? How do I handle it? What do I need to do? Because I am the only person within this business relationship that is able of doing that. Able? Is that the right word? Capable of doing that. Now, I have to walk towards the situation. You can probably tell from my voice I'm slightly frustrated, which is what happens to me when I get into these scenarios and situations, because all I want is the best result for our customers, our best result for our client group. We need to give good service. Now, that good service cannot be compromised by the fact that myself and a business partner cannot communicate with each other effectively. It cannot. Now, I see this a lot. So I'm going to be putting out something around communication and how we understand each other. I will be putting together a program around self-awareness, around how we build relationships in business, about how we communicate with each other. Lots of experience. And it still doesn't mean that it's not difficult for people, even when they know how, that it's not difficult, because actually it can be very difficult. It can be very trying. Manipulative behaviours, aggressive behaviours, passive behaviours are designed to get you off their back. I'm dealing with a manager currently who is been given somebody who's been in an organisation for 17 years, displays passive aggressive behaviours like I've never met. They've been there 17 years, they're in admin, they don't know how to use Word. But through their behaviours, through their absences, through their conversations, they've actually got everybody off their back for 17 years. Can't use Word within an organisation, and they're in an admin role. I'm dealing with the manager who is on verge of potentially breakdown, nervous breakdown, don't know how to deal with it. Two options: you have to walk towards it, or you leave as a manager, because the organisation is responsible for the results that they get. Now, that's a sort of a convoluted way of saying, deal with the passive behaviour, deal with the aggressive behaviour, whether it's an employee, whether it's your business partner, whether it's your life partner. You have to deal with them. You have to have the conversation, because otherwise it just gets worse. So I'm going to finish this Facebook Live and the recording for the Conscious Leadership podcast. I'm doing a recording here. I'm doing a recording in a group on a daily basis. I'm going to do it absolutely for 30 days. Going to download a lot of the information, 30 years knowledge, well, 30 plus years knowledge, because I'm more than 30, but 30 years learning and development, 30 years management and leadership experience up here in this head that will be useful to you. So please, any questions you have, put them below. I will answer them either in a Facebook Live, on a podcast series, or to you directly. PM me, DM me. This is vital for us to live a good and healthy life. So I'm going to say, go out there, take action, Take one more step towards your dream, towards your future, whatever that might be. Live a good life, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to the Conscious Leadership Podcast. You can contact Julie on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and hear me out. Please subscribe to her YouTube channel for how-to videos and more content. And please message Julie to have your questions answered. Until next time, remember, knowledge plus action with a plan creates magical results. See it, say it, write it, believe it, and achieve it.